Hello, hello, hello. I am your host OCL, and welcome back to One Century Later. Today we'll be taking a look at all events from August 22nd to August 28th, 1926. As with last week, all of my sources are in the description down below. Sunday, August 22nd, 1926. The bloodless coup led by Greek General Georgios Kondylis overthrew the government of dictator Theodoros Pangalos. Pangalos was arrested and confined aboard the Greek Navy destroyer Pergamos. However, the captain of the Pergamos attempted to help Pangalos escape. The destroyer Leon threatened to destroy the Pergamos, and the captain surrendered Pangalos to the destroyer Leon, ending the coup and ending the reign of Theodoros Pangalos. Also on this day, Sheriff John Solomon and Sheriff Rudolph Valentino were shot and killed in Valgar, Norway, while responding to a robbery. The two robbers, Anton Svensson and Henning Madsen, were attempting to break into a safe when the sheriffs arrived. Solomon was already dead by the time their bodies were found, but Alde was still alive and able to give a statement of what happened before falling unconscious and dying on August 24th. With this crime, Anton Svensson became the first criminal in Norway to be identified through fingerprinting. The manhunt for Svensson and Madsen would last for 2 months, with between 200 and 300 people participating. And also on this day, what would become known as the Dimanche Sanglant de Colmar, or Bloody Sunday of Colmar, occurred as members of the Alsatian autonomist Heimatbund movement clashed with the right-wing French nationalist Hamelos de Raux movement in the French city of Colmar. There were no deaths during the clash, however 60 people were injured before police could intervene. Monday, August 23rd, 1926. Following his bloodless coup the previous day, Greek General Georgios Kondylis proclaimed himself as the new Prime Minister of Greece. And also, following his emergency appendectomy on August 15th and Lerotis diagnosis on August 21st, silent film actor Rudolph Valentino died at the age of 31. Tuesday, August 24th, 1926. Former Greek President Admiral Pavlos Ontoriotis, who had resigned from office in protest of the dictatorship of Theodoros Pangalos in April, accepted a vote by the Greek parliament to return to office, resuming his duties as the President of Greece. Also on this day, a riot broke out in New York City as over 60,000 people rushed the Campbell's funeral parlor to see the body of Rudolph Valentino, who passed away the previous day. Valentino's body was held in state for several days before a funeral was held in New York City and another in Hollywood. And lastly on this day, 27-year-old Reverend Gilbert A. Akins was burned to death after falling into a hot spring at Yellowstone National Park. Akins was extracted from the pool but died in an ambulance on his way to the hospital. He was walking in the park with his wife and son when his foot slipped and he fell into the hot spring. Wednesday, August 25th, 1926. A Category 3 hurricane made landfall in Jordan, Louisiana, with wind speeds of 115 miles per hour. The hurricane killed an estimated 25 people, however, because of the lack of clean drinking water and rampant typhoid fever following the hurricane, the death toll is likely higher. 9 of these deaths came when the 10-crew-member tugboat L.E. Patton sank on the Mississippi River. Thursday, August 26th, 1926. Jigme Wangchuck ascended to the throne as the new king of Bhutan after the death of his father, Yugin Wangchuck. King Jigme Wangchuck ruled as king until his death in 1952. Also on this day, former Turkish Minister of Education Nazim Bey and former Turkish Minister of Finance Mehmet David were executed by hanging after being convicted of attempting to assassinate Prime Minister Mustafa Kemal Atatürk on June 14th. Following the ending of the Rif War in Spanish Morocco on May 26th, Spain demanded that the Tangier International Zone be annexed into Spanish Morocco, stating that the flow of contraband arms through Tangier is what enabled the Rif Rebellion. An explosion in the Clearfield Bituminous Coal Corporation's Clymer No. 1 coal mine in Clymer, Pennsylvania, killed 44 and injured 4 of the 62 coal miners who were in and around the mine. Of the 44 deaths, 17 were caused by asphyxiation due to the toxic gases trapped in the mine. Friday, August 27th, 1926. Troops loyal to Chinese warlord Wu Peifu boarded the British merchant ship SS Wanxian in Wanxian, China, and demanded transport up the Yangtze River. The ship's captain refused to leave port, and a standoff occurred until the British gunboat HMS Cockchafer sent a boarding party to investigate. After an argument, the ship was released and the Chinese troops disembarked. This would be the first in a series of events that would culminate in the Wanxian incident on September 5th. Also on this day, the solution to the ongoing Chilean-Peruvian border dispute was proposed by U.S. mediator Wade Ellis and U.S. Secretary of State Frank B. Kellogg, and agreed upon by both Chile and Peru. The dispute surrounded the territory of Tacna and Arica, both of which were under the control of Chile. The solution suggested setting the boundary line between the two nations as the Arica-La Paz railway line, with the land north of the railway line, the territory of Tacna, going to Peru, and the land south of the railway line, the territory of Arica, going to Chile. The U.S. naval crusader USS Galveston landed at Bluefields, Nicaragua, with a force of 195 American troops to protect American citizens and interests during the rebel uprising that began on May 2nd. And lastly on this day, U.S. Navy Commander John Rogers passed away at the age of 45 when the plane he was flying crashed into the Delaware River. In 1925, he and his crew set the record for the furthest non-stop flight at 1,992 miles in an attempt to fly from California to Hawaii before making an emergency landing on the water and spending 10 days lost at sea. Saturday, August 28th, 1926. Nothing of historical precedent happened on this day. And that is all. See you next week for all events from Sunday, August 29th, 1926 to Saturday, September 4th, 1926. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.